good afternoon, or for some of you on the East Coast, it's going to be probably good morning for you. We are ready to start the webinar, and this is Karen Billings. I'd like to be the first to welcome you to the webinar. It's a great group of speakers here. We've got lots of good information to get through, so I'm not going to take much time on the intro slides. For those of you who are not members, we want to make sure that you know, as you probably do, that SIIA is a trade association, and our members are companies. We work in the education division with those education technology companies. We've got two upcoming events, but the first one is the key one in December. Every December in New York, we have an education business forum, and it's all about financial records. So it is in the interest of growing both revenue and profitability. We're getting a great program put together for you. Also, we've got a series of webinars coming up. I think tomorrow we've got a school technology series with Baltimore County Public Schools. Those are happening, I think, every 3 or 4 weeks. We've got EdMarket 101 happening. We've got our Common Core, and we've got post-secondary series starting. This is the first of the post-secondary series, and I'm very pleased to be moderating this one, or at least not moderating, but to introduce this one. On behalf of the Education Division team here at SIIA, you can see my picture. You can see Derby, who is managing everything behind the scenes, and Lindsay, who's going to step in and introduce a few other people. Lindsay, can I turn it over to you?
Sure. So we've been working with John Richards in creating our higher ed market report for about a year now, and we've also invited NACS to speak about their higher ed market report to just give it more of an idea of what's going on in the higher ed market, because it is so very different from the PK-12 one, which our companies tend to focus on. And as an organization, we've been trying to be more aware of K-20 initiatives. So this webinar is sort of stepping in more in that direction and giving our members and some non-members some more information about what's going on in the higher ed market, what's happening, and how we can get more information out there about how people can get more involved in that. So today's speakers are Martha Love. She's an information analyst for the National Association of College Stores. John Richards, PhD, who's the President of Consulting Services for Education, and Rhonda Struminger, who's PhD, who's the Project Director for the Consulting Services for Education. So I'll have Martha start, and if she could just share a little bit about herself and give everybody an intro as to who you are.
Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Martha Love, and as you heard, I am Information Analyst at On-Campus Research, which is the research division under the National Association of College Stores. I have been here for 20 years. I am in charge of our annual financial survey and other research initiatives, which I'll be talking some about today. And a lot of our information is on our website and used in education and publications. I have a library degree from Kent State, and I have 2 children currently in college at Akron and Ohio State, and 2 others, one in middle school, one in high school, and they are actually doing online public school this year. So I'm getting the education technology firsthand as well as at work. Thank you.
John, if you want to give everybody a little bit more information on who you are and what you do.
Hi. Yes, I'm President of Consulting Services for Education and adjunct faculty at Harvard in the Graduate School of Education. And Consulting Services for Education focuses on strategic planning and market research, K-20, and we have been around for over 10 years. My own degree is in philosophy, which makes me good for just about anything, or no good for anything. And CS for Ed is currently working with a variety of people from Tufts University, Cal State University, Harvard, on strategic planning, and particularly focused on online courses.
And Rhonda?
Rhonda,
Hi. Can you hear me?
now we can.
Okay. So I'm Rhonda Struminger, and I work with John at Consulting Services for Education. I'm a project director of research there. And I have a master's in technology and education from Harvard. And since 2010, I've been working with John while simultaneously finishing my PhD at Texas A&M University. So I'm calling in from College Station, Texas. And there I've been working on education and policy. So for this project that I'm talking about with you all today, I'm going to be mostly talking about the market context of the higher education arena. So the higher education market and the schools and the users of technology. So that is what I'll be getting to shortly. That's it.
Okay. So we'll start with some information from Martha, and if you want to take it away from here.
Thank you. And thank you for inviting me to this webinar on the higher education market. We do appreciate being invited and being able to share information we have. The National Association of College Stores, for those who don't know much about us, we are a trade association, and we represent both stores and companies in the market. As you can see, we have store members as well as representing lease-operated stores, over 3,000 of them across the country. We have approximately 1,000 associate members who supply products or services to college stores. We put on CAMEX, which is the largest collegiate market trade show each year. In 2014 it will be in Dallas, Texas. And we do certification of our members as far as collegiate retailing, provide lots of education both at the trade show and throughout the year, including webinars. We are advocates of the higher education retail market and do have a representative in DC, and we provide research and information. And that is the division I work in, which is on-campus research. And we do many research projects in a lot of different areas. It is a full-service research group. As you can see here, there are some of them that we will cover today. Student Watch, we have a college student online panel. We do online custom surveys, omnibus surveys. TrendSpotters is one of our recent developments of putting college students out into the market to find emerging trends or give us feedback on what they're finding from different companies or in different venues. And Independent College Stores Financial Survey. And as I said, today we're going to look at 3 of these in particular and some of the data that we get available. The College Store Financial Survey has been around since 1980. It is conducted annually. It has been online for the last more than 10 years. It is the most complete resource we have on collegiate retail and higher education market data. We are currently fielding the 2012-13 survey across the country. So the data that you're going to see today is from the 2011-12 fiscal year, and that was received from over 300 campus stores. Some basic information we have on the higher education market, at least from the college store side. We estimate 4,500 college stores in the U.S. They will often have a common mission, but do vary greatly in size, location, type of operation. The largest percentage are owned and operated by the institution they serve, but a large percentage is also contracted out to basically two private companies, Barnes & Noble College Stores and Follett Higher Education. Average sales of college stores across the market would be about $2.3 million each per year, and we estimate the whole college store market to be about somewhat over $10 billion. The college stores do mirror the demographics of institutions, so one of the things we end up describing to people who come into the college market who are not familiar with higher education is the distribution of institutions and the way they fall. Having some very large institutions, we would have very large stores to serve them, and a lot of smaller institutions that would have much smaller stores. So people coming into the market that come through us are often not familiar with higher education before they get to us. This slide shows the total market estimate that we've put together over the last years based on the results of the College Store Financial Survey compared to enrollment. We're not too happy to see the flat line in College Store market sales, but we did notice the uptick in enrollment when the economy got bad and a lot more people were going back to school. That didn't translate into more money, which does make sense since the economy was so bad. But we do track on a large scale what is happening in higher education as far as student spending and retail sales. This slide I hope you can read. It has a lot of data in it. Besides estimating the overall market from our survey, we do look at product category sales and trends in student spending. This over the last 10 years, you can see that hardware sales in college stores has increased. PC and digital supplies is also an area that is popular with college students. Now that students are downloading information, software sales, box software sales are not much of a percentage of sales in college stores, but it does give us an idea of where students are spending their money and what's happening with not only course materials but other product categories. In addition to the college store side, we do directly survey college students in several areas. Student Watch is our syndicated research. It is focused on college students' perceptions and use of course materials. It is conducted both fall and spring terms. And again, this one is also fielding for 2013. We have 20 campuses across the country that are putting out surveys to their students to get back information specifically on this most recent fall term. So the data you're going to see here is from the survey that was conducted in October 2011, and for that we had over 10,000 usable surveys. Some of the data we got from that is, again, student spending, asking them what they spent on course materials in the previous 12 months. This is from 4 different Student Watch, and you can see what they reported back to us. While there are differences from year to year, or even when there's a gap of a year, we don't see huge swings in what students tell us they're spending on course materials. And it's good. We often are asked, what are students spending? And everybody is interested in that. But we like to dig deeper in Student Watch. And so we'll get into details of where they're spending that money and why they're spending it and how they're spending it. This slide shows the results again from 2011. Students that purchased or accessed digital textbooks. And in that year, 35% of the students in that survey said yes, they had accessed or purchased a digital textbook sometime that term. The ways they are getting to digital textbooks vary, and the 3 most popular are shown here. 57% went through a PIN or access code that was purchased through the college store. 42% went directly to a publisher or non-campus site, such as CourseSmart. And over a third purchased or accessed the materials directly through their course management system on campus or their professor's website. Students with 35% purchasing or accessing digital text, we wanted to know what was the reason for them making that decision to get digital materials. And as you can see here, the reasons for preferring digital cross a wide range of reasons, but these were the most popular. Not necessarily what some people assume price wasn't the driving reason. Access wasn't the driving reason. It's more convenience and being organized, having everything in one place and not hauling around very large textbooks. Reasons for not purchasing the digital, and this is anyone who answered the survey, not just the students who purchased digital. Reasons for not purchasing is still a preference for print materials, no access to digital for their classes, or the professor using print are the most likely reasons that the student is not purchasing digital materials at this time. Besides course materials, we look at in Student Watch how they access any ebooks or digital materials, whether it is for their courses or otherwise. We did ask about their ownership of e-readers, and in that year approximately 17% of the students reported owning an e-reader device. Apple iPad and the Amazon Kindle were both very popular with students. Barnes & Noble's Nook less so, or other tablets. But I think what was most interesting in this survey was that of all the students who responded to the survey, not just those owning e-readers, 35% used their smartphones and a reader app to access ebooks. So for those looking at bring your own device or other things, that actually has a larger percentage of student interest or accessibility than an e-reader would.
Mm-hmm. Martha, this is Karen. We did have a question here about the convenience factor that you mentioned on the previous slide. I just skipped back for you. They're wondering if navigation or functionality fit within this, or do you know what about convenience made it convenient?
In that, I don't think it was detailed specifically. Typically for us, for convenience and for students, the convenience issue is having all the materials in one place, as in they can access their math, their English, their whatever it is, through their laptop or through a device. They don't have multiple books, multiple sources, multiple formats. So it's more physical place and convenience rather than the digital access and functionality within that.
Okay.
Thank
Great.
you.
Thank you. I'll move you back to the slide that you were on. Thank you.
Okay. So that's a very brief overlook at Student Watch, which, as I said, focuses on course materials and students' access to that. The other research that we conduct on a more regular basis, more than twice a year, is the online student panel. And this is a group of some 18,000 college students across the country, 1,100 different campuses. And we ask them questions about all kinds of things, not just course materials, but where they shop, what they're buying there, how much they're spending. So a lot of their spending and buying habits and their attitudes. We explore their responses to current events, anything that's going on with social matters or social media, to find emerging trends or just see what is at the top of their radar at any given time that we are sending out surveys to them. We do award money for that, and we've to date spent over $70,000 directly to students in response to their involvement in the online panel. One of the most recent online panels that we thought would be interesting to this group was a technology survey that we did earlier in 2013. This goes back to start with some very basic information. Almost 80% of college students have smartphones. It really shouldn't be much of a surprise, but it's definitely the preferred phone for college students. And if you want to see what phones we're talking about, here we ask them what they currently own, and by far Apple. They are Apple aficionados, I guess. More than 40% currently own an Apple iPhone of some form or other. And then we also got information on their top service providers. As far as use of the phones that they all own and love, and they do love them, the average number of total hours they spend on their phone is almost 5 every day. I can't even go there imagining what that is. But yeah, 4.9 hours was the average use of their mobile phone per day. And we asked them about, well, when are you using your phone? And here's some of the top answers that we got. And the often or always box of when they're using their phone, 67% use it before they go to bed. They are checking their phones when they go to bed. 60%, more than 60% are on it as soon as they wake up. Almost 41% are using it while they're shopping. So they are on their phones all the time, either directly on their phones for whatever reason, or when they're doing something else, they're still on their phone. in that technology survey, besides phones, we looked at social media usage. They are not on social media as much as their phones, but they were still spending an average of 2.9 hours per day accessing social media. And they are doing that through their laptop predominantly, but again, more than a third are using their smartphone to access their social media. And this slide shows what they're accessing as far as social media sites. They are on Facebook predominantly for keeping up with friends and family, but also YouTube, Google. Lots of interest in social media. We did find that females had a slightly higher rate on social media than males. They were spending 3.3 hours on average versus males who were on 2.6 hours per day. The use of social media by college students is very similar to the overall population. As you can see here, they are using Facebook to keep in touch with family and friends. 61.7% said that's where they go. YouTube is great for entertainment. They use LinkedIn for professional and business contacts. So not a lot of difference that we've seen with the overall population. What we haven't been able to determine from research is, are they setting these preferences in college and carrying them into their 20s and 30s, or is it just that everyone uses them, there's sort of a norm for this, and college students are just following that general population norm? But we do know they are on social media for specific things. Besides the personal contacts, they are going on for business or consumer information. And this last slide shows what students are looking for when they go on company sites. Results of this particular online panel, student panel, 83% of college students told us they follow at least one brand or company on social media on a regular basis. And over a quarter of them will follow 10 or more of their favorite companies. And the kinds of things they are looking for with their companies are coupons or deals, contests, or information about new products that they might get from these companies that they like. This is a very broad and quick look at the types of research we have. I'd be happy to answer any questions, and I have my contact information here for anyone who needs to reach me. Again, thank you so much for this opportunity to speak with you, and I'll go on then to let John take over. Thank you.
Thank you, Martha. John?
Thank you, Martha. And so what I want to talk about today is the SIIA Higher Education Technology Survey and Report. This is part of a series of reports we've been doing. We are about to release the third annual K-12 report, pre-K-12 report, and this year we started the Higher Education report for the first time. And in particular, what we want to do today is talk about the surveys and results, but as with a lot of surveys, the first year we don't get as much of a response as we would have liked, but we also tried to put together a good sense of the market context and what we think are the upcoming opportunities and challenges. The market universe we figured is, we identified 386 companies selling to the higher ed market. I think, again, because this is the first year, I suspect that's a bit low. We're probably looking at another 10 or 20% higher than that. Of that, 39 companies reported data, and we're looking at the 2010-11 school year. The $630 million that was reported fell into platforms and administrative tools, instructional support, and instructional content, and I'll explain what these mean. It's interesting because there's a lot of overlap with the college store analysis, but we're also looking at direct sales to universities and IT-type departments. So what we are seeing doesn't completely overlap with Martha's report. And the data we got, platforms, administrative tools, clearly led the market with instructional support and instructional content coming in afterwards. And what we're looking at by instructional support is everything from tutoring to professional development and other supplemental type activities. What we did not do this year, and it's important to note, is we did not break these market segments down further because with only the 39 companies reporting, we felt we could not protect the companies that had given us data properly. So that's really an absolutely critical aspect of what we have to do, because we are getting this kind of information from companies. So if we feel that someone can sit there and do the math and figure out someone else's revenue, that we just can't release it. But to give you a sense, the content, we did get data on all of the content areas listed here. There's instructional support, testing and assessment, which was a good chunk, and I might add it is in pre-K-12. Testing and assessment is the largest market segment, higher than ELA and reading combined. But the LMS collaboration, productivity tools, and faculty professional learning training. The platform administrative tools, we looked at central office administrative tools and the rest of this list. And then finally, because of our specific interest, we were trying to look at developmental math and developmental English and ELL, ESL. So I'm going to pass this to Rhonda, but before I do that, I wanted to urge you to provide data and participate in the survey. We've gotten over 120 vendors participating in the pre-K-12, and we'd love to get this number up. If you go to this email address, and Lindsay's going to provide that on the chat window as well. And when this is downloadable, this presentation, so you can go there. And if you participate, we will get more accurate data, and the $1,500 report will be provided free. And as you saw with this, the data is confidential and anonymous. It's a short survey, and we really would love to be able to expand this in the industry. So, Rhonda, you want to take over?
Sure. Hi, everyone. So what I'm going to talk a little bit about is the market context in which the survey is taking place, basically, in terms of what's going on with the market overall. So I'm just going to talk first about the schools themselves and just the size of the schools. So to go to the next slide. I see. Here we go. Got it. So the number of post-secondary institutions is increasing. So the market does seem to be growing. As we also saw earlier with the STORE survey, those numbers are growing. And that continues not quite at this rate moving forward, but certainly is increasing. So what are the largest institutions? If you read the full market, if you read the full report that we've put together, we talk about the university systems, but here I just wanted to highlight that indeed the largest campuses or the largest schools are the online schools, the University of Phoenix and the Kaplan. These enrollment numbers have gone down a bit, but they are still significant in terms of the overall population of the students that we're seeing out there. I don't know if anyone sees any of their universities here, but there we go. And then in terms of the overall technology trends, a lot of this is going to highlight some of the things we've already been talking about. As more and more students have their phones and are really using their phones, what's going to start happening in the classroom is going to start reflecting that. So just to see what is happening, a close-up look, and this is again just the highlight of what's actually in our survey report that we put together. The cloud computing is certainly playing a larger and larger role, as it is everywhere. And the highlight here that I would stress is the hybrid cloud. As you're seeing more of these personal machines coming into the classroom and being used, how can universities tap into what's happening with students on the ground, who's storing the information, and where those types of conversations are going to start happening more and more as companies are selling into this market. I'm highlighting here the library spending, and the thing that I just wanted to talk about specifically at universities is the electronic serial subscriptions. And this again was hit on a bit in what's happening with the campus stores, but you are seeing a very sizable portion of where libraries are spending their money. It's going electronic. And the electronic books as well, this number is expected to increase dramatically over the coming years. So that is a quick overview of the market in terms of who is purchasing at the universities, but then where are these universities, where are the revenues coming from? This is probably a review for many of you, but just briefly highlighting this next screen here is a bit full, so I just want to take a minute to talk about where the money is coming from. And this chart is broken into 2-year universities, and then this side is 4-year. I should say 2-year colleges. And when you look at the public, private not-for-profit, and private for-profit, you do see some variation here in terms of how much is coming from the government and how much is coming from tuition and fees. What's in green is the tuition and fees, and what is in yellow is what's coming from the government. And investments is this orange. You can see that for the public 2-year colleges, that's rather small, and it gets larger in the 4-year. But the big takeaway from this slide is that there is a lot of dependence in the public universities, especially still, on what is coming from the government. And you see it in the 4-year, not as much. And when you actually talk about what this translates into in terms of the finances and how much money we are talking about, that's on this next screen where we actually see the reported revenue overall, where the colleges and universities are reporting how much they're actually taking in. And the most sizable part of the market are the public post-secondary schools, and that's continuing to grow. And here the private for-profit is quite a large bit of this bar, but that probably, again, this only goes through 2009 through 10, and there has been a drop in the population going to those schools. But it will be interesting as this chart grows in the next version of our survey report, how those numbers change over time. Are there questions? I'm seeing some things come through. Does anyone need me to answer any questions right now? What proportion of tuition and fees is coming from federally guaranteed student loans? Is that for the last slide? I don't know exactly what the proportion is. It's something that I can find out. It is a large chunk of it, but I don't know the exact percentage.
Yeah, we'll get back to you on that.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, that's an easy follow-up. Okay. So if there are not any other questions, I'll keep going. So on the next slide, the expenditures, where's the money actually being directed? So here, I'm just again highlighting the reported expenditures. And as you can tell, again, you have a rather large differentiation between the public and the private schools. And just to mention this other category here, the public universities, you do have hospitals and that type of thing. But what's important is you've got this, they are still focusing on instruction. Instruction is getting a significant amount of the resources here. And the other big one is the student services, academic and instructional support, which is based on our survey that we had done, where that money is coming from for at least those companies that responded to our survey. And the private for-profit is certainly, that's the largest part of their bar here, are the student services, academic, and instructional support. So that can tell you that what we are finding in our survey is holding true and what the numbers say from the NCES, which is where we pulled much of this information from. Hopefully I'm not going too fast. Feel free to ask questions as I'm going through a lot of the data here. So final slide here just on the numbers, the federal budget allocations. You're asking what percentage is instructional support the same as supplemental. Let me go back to that slide. So I would, yes is the big answer to Journey. That should include the supplemental there. Although it might be, some of it might be included in instruction. It would depend on how the NCES was qualifying that. And again, I can get more into the weeds on that with you as a follow-up email after the presentation here. But for the most part, the instructional support should include the supplemental in the blue. Hopefully that at least starts to answer your question. So it's most likely in the blue, but could fall into the purple. Okay, so the federal budget allocations. Here you can see that certainly most of the money is going into elementary and secondary schools. There's a large spike here between 2005 and 2008 as monies were getting allocated to universities and colleges, and then you see that the trend is, there's this big dip here, which would probably start around 2008, which it does, and you can start to see that there's still an increase here in what is being allocated to post-secondary schools. It is starting to get more attention from the federal budget, and as you know, things are a bit in flux at the federal level with what's getting funded and what's not, so I wouldn't dare to project where it's really going to go, but there is this level here that we're seeing, at least as of 2011, and as the numbers are, as we catch up to 2013, we'll have to watch how high it stays. Certainly we're at a high point here in this screen. So just to take a step back with everything that we've looked at here and talked about, overall the market trend with the market trends, we didn't talk a lot about learning management systems. Certainly that comes into play here with cloud computing. So the hybrid that I talked about earlier, we are going to start to see things really move forward in that arena. And certainly having the technology reaching more and more students. They obviously have the technology in their hand, as we've already seen here. And how do we leverage that and really get content to students that way? And as far as the policy impacts, the Higher Education Act since 2008, more money has been available for students who choose to go to online universities. So in some ways that accounts for some of the larger numbers of students going there. But there has been some discussion right now in terms of the impact of online universities and these gainful employment regulations. There's still some debate going on in that arena, specifically between the Department of Education and the online universities as they navigate what is really necessary to have quality education online. And then moving forward for opportunities, certainly helping universities navigate all the data they can now collect as more and more things go online. And as you have more distance learning and online education opportunities, how universities work with that information that they now have and really leverage that into the classroom is certainly an area that companies can start targeting. And then in terms of the challenges, politics remains a very big challenge as far as the market is concerned, as does the economy. So again, this is a very top-level, quick summary of what we've put into our survey report. So hopefully you all can take a look at that for more information that really delves into more detail. And we will get back on some of the questions we've had that I wasn't able to address in detail. Mm-hmm. So thank you very much. I appreciate it. And if there are any questions, certainly feel free to contact us if you want to know even more than we presented here or than has been asked. Regarding data tracking, are there significant issues about student privacy? Absolutely, and that's related to the cloud, how much is stored privately versus publicly. So trying to find that right balance and making sure that the information is secure is something that the universities are going to need and the colleges are really going to need to be careful about. That's certainly one of the areas that has the potential of becoming problematic.
Yeah, and Rhonda, to your point, or to everyone's point, SIIA is working on a paper about cloud computing, and one of the things that we're seeing is that universities are moving to the cloud sort of steadfastly, but not that quickly, because they are concerned about security and privacy. They are also just trying to manage, change over a period of time. We should have that done by our December conference in New York. We have, I know that Mark Schneiderman here, who's our Senior Director of our Education Policy, is working with a number of groups about education data privacy and security, because it has been something that people are approaching us about, particularly members in states where the data privacy, particularly in K-12, seem to be a high concern. I heard a lot about it at EDUCAUSE, and I think that some of our companies, Tutor.com and Atomic Learning and others that were there at EDUCAUSE probably saw the same number of sessions as I did. We are going to continue to either host more sessions about it or write about it, because it is a key concern. We've got the survey report that we have done available on the website. It's free to members. I was hoping that Lindsay could post the URL to that page so people can go to it. Lindsay, I'll wait for you to do that so that everybody can see that URL down in the chat box. There it is. So just go to SIIA.net/eStore, and it will be there. And if you click on the link there, you will get, if you're a member, you'll be asked to log in and provide your username and password, which is your email address. It will check then. If you're a member, it will give you access to the document. If not, you can also get, if you're not a member, you can purchase it. We would love for you to buy it, because we also appreciate the revenue like any group does. So if you're a member, for free. Again, if you are a member, your passwords are typically, unless you've told us differently, it's your email address, both for the username and password. But if you go in, you will be able to do that. So Lindsay is telling me that it's not the username and password, but we'll see. Do go to the website. Do get more information about it. It's a great report. Again, it's the first one we've done. And what we learned when we did our PK-12 report was that we started, John and his team did yeoman's work pulling the first one together. And the next one we got more responders. This last one we got even more responders. I think it's going to be a great report. So we'll see. I hope that everybody else is, still has some time. If you want to ask some questions, we can certainly answer that. John Richards and Rhonda are still on the call, and Martha is on the call.
One thing I think it's important to note right now is that a lot of colleges and universities are moving to having online actually as a part of the regular course offering, not just for total online courses. And the hybrid courses, I think, are moving more and more data online, and the issues about privacy are pretty much right up front. But this is happening as we speak. There's clearly a major move to more online courses and hybrid offerings. And I think everyone from HarvardX and edX and on down are struggling with what the new format and structure is going to be.
So Beneath had another question. Martha, if you're still on, do you have any data about institutions doing pilots with tablets, what they're using them for, and what their primary devices are? Are they iPads or Androids? I know we talked a lot about smartphones, but I know at EDUCAUSE, et cetera, there were a lot of sessions about tablets.
I believe we're in the current Student Watch that is fielding that. We are looking at what students are telling us, because that's our access point, what they're being required to use or how the classes are set up. I know, to John's comment, from the student side, the majority of students, I just can't think off the top of my head what the exact percentages, but I know it was a majority of students have told us that they've attended an online class, that some aspect of their current education involves online, whether it's a regular class and it's a hybrid, or it's flipped, or they're taking an online course as well as their regular in-person courses on a campus. So, but as far as what the institution has required, I think that would be coming up in our current survey. We didn't have that in our last one from the 2011.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So Beneath, the answer is, I guess, stay tuned. A lot of people would like that. And then Jim McBetty had a question about the tech readiness of students. Do you find that they are now digital natives, or do they need some tech literacy? Or actually, anybody could answer that if you happen to know.
We did not do a survey, but I think one thing is clear, and that is that while Bring Your Own Device, BYOD, is slowly moving into pre-K-12, it's absolutely the dominant theme in higher ed and has been for several years. So my sense is we're talking about students who are bringing their own machines in and are comfortable with them.
Mm-hmm. Comfortable, but again, do they understand what it takes to do good, to have good research skills online, things like that? Probably don't know. So.
Don't know.
Oh, no.
I could make some conjectures. Having been teaching at the university level now, a bit, and John certainly has some of this experience as well, but certainly the need to teach research skills with all the information out there is still very much a necessity.
Yeah, I think at least they found that out also in PK-12. That seems to be what I hear most often. So Mark has a question. Can any of the panelists provide specific examples of public universities that are particularly innovative with hybrid approaches? Any thoughts? Good question, Mark.
I can talk about Harvard X and edX a bit, and I think part of what's happening there is that you have these MOOC courses that are what everyone is reading about and seeing, but underneath that and behind the scenes there's a real effort to experiment with the structure of regular courses. So what they're looking at as you start with, in a sense, the old model of lecture capture, you need to look at how that transforms what individual students do, so that you now, if your course faculty member is being digitally recorded, maybe now you don't bother going to class and you're just watching it in your dorm room. And I think we've seen a lot of that happening, and as a result, some of what's happening is a hard look at the design of these courses and how do you make not just a simple flipping, but thinking about how to make the time with the faculty member different. And that's something we really, I think, is going to evolve, and we don't have a good idea where it's going.
Thank you. Any other questions? I think we've gotten to most of them.
This is Martha, and I would just make a comment from the student side, from what we're seeing from our surveys of them. Digital to them is not a PDF of the print textbook. If it is not interactive, if it is not almost comparable to a video game as far as interaction and audio and video and visuals, they don't consider that digital. That's just the book in another format, and yeah, I can get it on my laptop, but they aren't going to spend money on that. That is not going to engage them. It is not going to be something that they're actively going to pursue in their education. And the same thing for recorded lectures. If it's just a recording of a talking head, again, that's what we're seeing students in student responses, that they are not following up on education. They're expecting a whole lot more, and when they expect digital, whether it's lectures or materials, it's not just here's an electronic format of what you've always had.
Right.
Sort of word to the wise for our publishers. Okay. Right. Any final questions? Folks are saying that they have thought it was a great panel and it's informative. The slides, Mark, to your question, and others actually, the slides will be available quite soon. We will be posting them on our website, and the Derby will be sending an email around probably tomorrow that will give you access to the slides with the audio. Since this has been recorded, you will have the words of wisdom from everyone who was presenting during the slides, and as well as the slides to look at. So I want to close, I guess, by thanking everyone that participated. Lindsay for helping get this organized, and of course the Derby for managing all of the logistics, which is not easy. And personally, our three speakers, both John and Rhonda for our own report, and Martha out of NACS. You all had great information, and I think that from the information I was seeing on the chat box, and particularly from comments that people were making, I think that it was been a great webinar. I see that Paula is saying clap, clap, clap. So since we can't hear you, Paula, thank you for the visual. Thank you. And we will close, and hopefully we will see you at the next post-secondary webinar. It's not scheduled yet for registration, but we will be hosting one soon, as well as, of course, others that we're doing that are focused on K-12 and others that are simply K-20. So stay tuned, and thank you all for participating today.
Thank you. Please stand by.